Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first episode of the 12 Talk podcast. We're so stoked. My name's Josh. I'm one of your hosts. This is Mitch as well, who is another one of your hosts. We have been planning this since the start of the season. It's our first one. We are just happy to be on air. And what a time to come on air, you know? Big news, which we're going to address. I want to first of all say thank you very much to Slim Genix for our intro music. It's an absolute banger. You can find him on SoundCloud. I think he's on Facebook and other things as well. As for us, you've probably found us on X, on Instagram. We've got a Facebook group. We've got a Discord. All you've got to search is at 12 Talk Pod, and we'll be there. Without further ado, Mitch, how excited are you?
Hello, yeah. Very excited. Our maiden voyage, and able to line it up with a new era for Seahawks football. Our ninth head coach in the history of our franchise. We've gone from the oldest head coach in the league to now the youngest in the NFL history. So momentous historical times, and we get the absolute privilege of coming to you guys live less than an hour after Mike MacDonald's first interview. What an absolute gift that is.
It was just, it was so nice. I mean, we were obviously messaging back and forth, and John Schneider looked like such a proud dad. Obviously, those first, when he first came into the VMAC and you saw the videos, he was just beaming and absolutely everything he said about like Mike Mac then. He's just so pumped and excited for this new era, this new. It's just a new regime with the Seahawks. It's new, it's exciting. We all get to watch it unfold as well, which is the best thing, and we get to talk about it on a weekly basis. So
yeah, we do. What a gift that is. Yeah, and I think my big takeaway from that first press conference was how it seemed to have a really good balance of some of the good old stuff that we wouldn't want to throw out, with the end of the Pete regime, and so much of the things that you would think John Schneider was looking for, with the fresh start, with fresh eyes on the way we defend and the way the scheme works. There seemed to be a real blend of building up the characters in the organization and allowing people to be themselves, and sort of lifting people up. That was such a Pete thing that you wouldn't want to lose. And then you've also got, the fact that we've probably managed to recruit the greatest defensive mind in the NFL, all in one package. It's the good stuff we were missing, and it's the good stuff we had. And we've hopefully got the bonus of Pete being there to support that transition too. So
it's amazing.
That's got to be promising. Yeah, it's got to be promising.
It's the culture thing, and that was obviously what John said. That has been the main directive. We wanted to keep that culture going with the defensive coach. I know there was a lot of calls for offensive-minded coaches, and I completely get it, because I was teetering as to whether to go offensive or defensive. But then when you saw people who dropped out of that race and who was available, I think Mike MacDonald he's the one that you want to have in there to drive this young team forward. It's a young head coach working with young players, although he and Bobby Wagner are, near enough there in age as well. I think it's just going to be so exciting to see what he brings out of all these players. I know you've got a lot to say on that, because we've had a lot of talk, so we'll get into that in a minute as well.
Yeah,
and the parallels that you drew between what the Ravens do and what our team can do are so exciting when you look at our personnel. I mean, if we talk about the coaches that we could have had, I mean, you looked at your Vrabel, Belichick was still out, or they're both still out there.
Quinn has just gone to the Commanders as well, obviously.
Oh, is that announced now?
That's happened, yeah. I wonder what I will let you go back to that list of candidates, because it's really interesting. But on the subject of Dan Quinn, I thought it was interesting how soon after the announcement Dan Quinn was announced as Commanders head coach. I wonder whether he had the offer from the Commanders, and on us announcing ours, he then possibly accepted terms. Maybe he was holding out, deciding until we might have been his first choice, and once the job went off the table, he took the offer. Maybe. I'm spitballing there. That's
it's pure speculation, but it it stands to reason. This was he's always been saying he wants to come back to Seattle. He sees this his home and whatnot. And the organization, I think if we couldn't get someone like Mike Mac, I think that could have been the option we've gone for. When
Yeah,
we have
I think
people
so.
like Johnson who pulls out of the race because he wants to go to a Super Bowl with Detroit, good luck. If they keep building,
I hope that happens. I hope that happens.
I'd love to say. I hoped it happened this year. I really did. Anyone but the Niners, to be honest.
As long as it's not at our expense, I'm happy with it happening. Because at the end of the day, if we don't get there and they do, it means the 49ers didn't, and that is as good as anything else. So,
100%. I mean, like we were talking about, obviously, you've got your other candidates, your Slowicks and whatnot, but let's talk about the man, Mike MacDonald. He has come from, he was at Georgia, wasn't he? And then he went to Baltimore.
Ravens as an intern.
Yep. So, and then after that, then he went to Michigan, didn't he?
Yeah.
So he was at Ravens as an intern doing, I want to say, linebackers. He did basically all phases, didn't he?
Yeah, he started as DBs. He was DB's coach. And the year he was DB's coach, the Ravens had 22 interceptions and 34 takeaways, which was first in the NFL. So while he was, DBs are priding themselves on takeaways, big plays, interceptions. That's what you're doing. So, yeah, when he was in charge of the DBs, league leading in interceptions and takeaways. Following year, linebackers coach, where he was coaching Matthew Judon and CJ Mosley, who were two very fine linebackers. So he was whether he was responsible for them having a good year, or whether he was lucky enough to take the experience of coaching two outstanding linebackers in the NFL. Either way, it stood him in good stead. That's when he moved to Michigan to be the defensive coordinator. That year, Aiden Hutchinson had his 14-sack season, which was a Michigan record. So obviously put their pieces in positions to, play to all of their strengths, which has become his penchant. That's his calling card on defense, is putting the right pieces in the right places to make his scheme work. He gets the best out of people, which is obviously clear there with Aiden Hutchinson that season he had. They finished third overall statistically on defense that year. And also, interestingly, that year that he was defensive coordinator in Michigan, he was coaching our own Mike Morris as well. So there is a connection there too. So, yeah, that was his travel. DB's coach, linebackers coach, defensive coordinator, Michigan, back to the Ravens as a defensive coordinator, and then 2 seasons in the NFL doing that, and then to the Seahawks.
And now he gets to do all of it, in charge of a whole team, offense and defense. I'm so excited now to see the pieces they put around this man, because hearing him talk, he talked quite passionately. I was waiting during that press conference to see how long it would take someone to mention Pete Carroll, and they got it in there. And he was very humble with it. Said, I've got great respect for Pete. Never met him. But he says he's a future Hall of Fame coach, so he knows the legacy that he's got to follow there anyway. And then there was the obvious question of, are these guys going to be playing like the Ravens? And I think he handled that perfectly. I think the answer he gave of, no, we don't know who we've got or what we're going to do. We want to create our own thing that's going to be, it can be Seahawks identity moving forward. I just thought it was beautiful. It made me really pumped for it as well, even more so than I already am and everyone else is.
Yeah, I think that's the right answer. I think it might be a little bit of a politician's answer to make sure that nobody from the off in the roster feels like, I've lost my spot here. Where could I get a trade to? If he suddenly says, yeah, we're doing the same stuff in Baltimore, there might be players who think, well, I don't fit the shape and size of what you did on the defensive line. I'm calling my agent. It keeps all doors open for everyone. So that he's got a full roster of players, to preach his stuff to. And he can see who's willing to be versatile and who's willing to learn a few new tricks, possibly change position, maybe on some looks, look like one thing, do another thing. That would be the most Mike Mac approach to do that with players. So he wants them all to feel involved, I think.
And that's you don't want to alienate anyone, because, like he said, it's his first time here. He doesn't know who's going to stay, who's going to go, who's going to fit into whatever scheme he wants to play. And it was a very, like I said, it was a politician's answer. It really was. But as a head coach, that's the type of answer you want to give, because you don't want anyone, like you said, to start calling agents saying, "Get me out of here." It's never going to happen. And he said about Gino as well, wanting to build around a quarterback, which, yeah. I'm more
that's
than
going to
happy
immediately split the fan base, though.
Yeah, that's
there's as many Gino lovers.
divisive.
Yeah,
I know there's a lot of people. Obviously, we're currently doing a big board, a consensus mock draft. For anyone who's watching or has followed us, you'll see these posts going up on our Facebook group, on our X, on our Instagram. Mitch is the mastermind behind this. He's been brilliant with it, and we're just putting the questions out to you daily for the first round to see who you think each team is going to pick. We posted that on X and on Instagram earlier. We'll redo it after this as well. And in the next pod, we'll actually have an update for it as well. But that has been I think it's been quite enlightening for a lot of things. I think for us, and like I said, with Gino being so divisive, I know there's going to be Seahawks fans clambering for us to take a quarterback at 16, but we've got our opinions on this, and obviously we'll address that in later pods. But if Gino shows Mike Mac what he wants and thinks he can work with, depending on what the OC is going to be, we could have another season of Gino, if not more.
Yeah, we could. And I've got my own thoughts on what our offense might look like. If our defense is as stingy as the Ravens has been over the last few years, I would wonder whether they'd want more of a game manager that was going to supply the run game, lots of handoffs, and short, quick connections to wide receivers, lots of yak. That sort of offense would massively suit a team that are built to be stingy. Yeah. And Gino's a humble guy. He'll do what he needs to do to stay here in a starting position, I think, and stay in Seattle. So that's potentially a good candidate to do that with. If you went and recruited someone who was, a prodigious arm talent and a real flashy player and likes to snap off lots of rushes as well as throwing, to ask them to rein it in and protect the ball and manage a game, and possibly being younger and slightly more immature, being a player who's never lost the starting spot like Gino has, I can really see a more mature quarterback that can do everything you need him to do, but not as well as Lamar, not as well as Fields, just can do everything you ask of him and is humble enough to just do what's being asked. He's a good candidate for that. And let's not forget that the contract he's on is really cap friendly. So I don't think Mike Mac's going to hate that. Let's also not forget Mike Mac had to build that roster, or had to manage his defensive side of the ball around a cap that had a Lamar Jackson huge contract baked into it. So he was dealing with, I don't want to say scraps, because what they put together was great and they had a lot of stars in there. But he doesn't have quite that problem here. Once Adams, Diggs, Tyler Lockett's contracts are either restructured or they've been moved on or whatnot, our cap looks much better for Mike McDaniels to build a great defense around. And if that means 2 years down the line he gets it right and then takes a rookie quarterback, we're then set up for 5 years of his, at the beginning of his dynasty, aren't we? With cap-friendly quarterback deal, offensive line, defensive line, the scheme, all the personnel, all singing, off we go.
I imagine as well. That's going to be where it's going to hit. I think, like you said, there's going to be some restructuring. There's some big contracts there, as all Seahawks fans know, especially tied up in our safeties. If you follow Jamal Adams on any social media, he's been clipping together his highlights, which has led the rumor mill to start churning that he might retire. And based on his injury history, it might be something he has to do. You never know. But we'll hear more about that later on. I think his priority looking at this team will be to build those trenches and then work back
Yeah.
because our offense is ready-made. We just need better protection for Geno and the run game. And then defensively, I just think we need a bit better pass rush. And let's not forget, we need to try and figure out what's happening with the linebackers. But that's something we can address in our pre-draft pods, because I know there's a few that you love. There's a few that we both loved, and you sort of led me into them. And then two of them have now not they've withdrawn the declaral. They're not going in. So anyway,
True.
one of the things that we discussed, and you sent me a fantastic link over Discord. So that's right, we have a Discord. It's from, was it Ravenswire? Just discussing.
It was the Baltimore Beatdown. It was the Baltimore Beatdown website. Yeah.
Just discussing the Ravens sort of defense and how, and then you led it down to, which I thought was fantastic. You can discuss that, but then the way you broke it down to how that could fit a Seahawks defense based on the players we've got now and the players you were highlighting to me, I just thought, oh, Mitch, you're a genius. And it got me tingling a little bit. Well, but it got me tingling a little bit. Go for it, dude. Tell everyone what you think, because I thought this was fascinating.
Yeah, so I mean, Baltimore have always had multiple looks with their front. They show you 4 and then it's a 3. They'll show you 3 and then it's a 4 up front, and they also play cover 3, which all of Pete's schemes have always been based on. So the cover 3 familiarity is there. With the front, that with them playing a 3, we've got the personnel to play a 3 with Jaron Reed and Draymond Jones and hopefully Williams if he returns. We've got a great system for a 3. We don't necessarily have a great system for a 4, and that's based on not having 3 down sort of traditional defensive ends and a nose tackle that can play defensive tackle as well. So you've got that 3 that shifts over, becomes a 4, etc. But the key piece that the Seahawks need is an outside linebacker that has the stature to be able to hold up as a defensive end, but also has the skill in coverage and the flexibility to show as the 4th defensive end. But then as soon as the ball is snapped, break off, cover the flats or the hook or the curl, and provide an extra bit of coverage, having shown 4 but actually had 3. The player I said to you that I think is the outstanding candidate to do that for us is actually Derek Hall, because Derek Hall shows as a the boy, yeah, he shows as a 6'3", long-armed, huge hands, played wide receiver in high school. So there's some ball skills there, obviously. He can hold his own on the edge. We've seen him set the edge, stuffing the run as well as rushing as well. So he's got the stature, the skill set. With a bit of tweaking and a little bit of honing those skills, I genuinely believe that he could be a really prized asset doing that role. The other one's Mike Morris. So we took him, bulked him up, moved him from a traditional 4-eye position defensive end into a three tech sort of bear, traditional like Chicago Bear style 3 tech. He actually was graded really highly for his coverage skills as a linebacker. So you've got a guy that's played 4-eye. You've got a guy there who's got coverage skills. You've got a guy who's 6'6", long-armed, can already rush. He had 18 sacks in college and more TFLs. That is all. If they were to say it's a starting role for Hall on that edge, you've certainly got a very good backup there. There's 2 guys that can do it. So that's the key role in there. And obviously when they shift to that 3 front, they're rushing the passer. When they stay as the 4 and don't move the guy out, they are stuffing the run. So when they stay as the 3, Baltimore, it leaves the B gaps for the running backs to go through. And at that point, you always have the 2 middle linebackers watching the B gaps. When it's the 4, when they stay as the 4, those gaps disappear and the runs have to bounce to the outside, and your 2 middle linebackers are watching the C gap. So the linebackers essentially are always on verticals, less side to side, always on verticals, slightly canted when it's the 4. So I think that key role of versatile defensive end outside linebacker we have in Hall. the cover three is the same as we played, with a deep free safety, which would be Diggs, and then two perimeter cornerbacks, which we've got Trey Brown, Woolen, and Spoon. And then you also need safeties with the ability to blitz, cover, support the run, and also shoot gaps. And we've got J Love, who's a do-it-all. We've got Diggs, who can do it all. We've got Spoon, who can jump up and play safety, or play nickel as well, a big nickel, small nickel. So yeah, we've got a really versatile set. Yeah, if Adams stays on the roster, he's perfect for a McDonald's defense. I just don't know if it's a McDonald's sort of cap hit for a first year, when you think you could move him and get Madubuike or Geno Stone or Queen. Is it Queen who's free agent this year? I think it is Queen, isn't it? Yeah, Carl Hamilton's got a couple of years. Yeah, it's Queen. So moving on, Adams opens massive doors in free agency. So as much as I think Adams is a good fit, there's the health question, there's definitely a cap question, and there's also what could we have instead of Adams. And if you turn him into three players that know the scheme, that's vastly more valuable than one injury-prone piece with a huge cap. So...
yeah, I still to this day feel slightly bad for. I shouldn't feel bad for him because he's a multi-millionaire and he's been on a physio bench for so long. But the hopes were so high. That's why we spent so much capital on him. And you've seen what he can do in the right scheme. Like you said, this as a scheme fit would be perfect for him. You need that strong safety who can cover ish. Let's just not talk about interceptions. Can blitz, he can basically work as an extra outside linebacker. He's perfect for that role. But the way his career is going at the moment, he can't stay fit. He can't stay healthy. He's too much of a liability. And like I said, he could be a potential cap hit. I think there's a few of them, and we'll address them in one of our pods. There's a few players, and I know you've done some research onto what the cap looks like, and who we can cut and what the savings will be. And I think there's a few, and I think he at the moment is probably top of the list as a cap casualty.
17.1 million to cut Jamal Adams after June 1st. So that's enormous. I mean, if you think Madubuike might want 12, 13, Geno Stone, he's been on non-starting money for so long, hasn't he? He's probably looking for a bit of a payday, but nothing like a Jamal Adams or Diggs. You could get two or three players that are great fits for the scheme for the same. There's also people. I was going to say people are looking at our cap hit like we're negative at the moment. And people are saying, "Oh, we're minus 2 million or 3 million in cap at the moment." Let's not forget we've got players like Monet on 6 million cap hit next year, who is coming back from an ACL injury and has no guaranteed money and is an obvious cut. I mean, there's 6 million right there for him, and there's Disley to rework potentially. Diggs, if he's staying, could possibly be reworked. Tyler Lockett, we can get down to 12 million instead of 28 this year. So honestly, we can find 30 to 40 million on that roster without cutting Adams or Geno and keeping those players with restrictions. It's not madness.
It's not. I'd love to hear other people's thoughts. Obviously, one thing I forgot to mention before, but right at the start of this podcast, is that our aim of this podcast is to have as many 12s on as possible. Every episode, we're going to have a different 12, so you can all say your piece. But by engaging on our social media platforms, channels, you can tell us exactly what you think. I mean, we'll have a big discussion about who should be a cap casualty. We'll have a big discussion about who we should draft, who we can trade and move on from. But I think when we look at the cap situation, because we're 4.4 over at the moment, am I right in saying that, around about that mark?
Yeah, we're single digits over. It could be as much as 5, but I think that also
not the same. Then basically,
no, all the Dolphins have got a dire situation with their cap. Yeah,
dude. I mean, this is it. I think that there's light on the horizon. I think it's one of those, when we manage the cap and the roster properly, we draft intelligently, I think we'll be fine, and McDonald will be set up for whatever he needs. So I think this has been a fantastic sort of a hire I just can't wait to see what happens sort of going forward with this. And I really want to see that big jump. Like we mentioned Derek Hall, and since you pointed him out to me last draft, and for anyone who hasn't seen Mitch on anything before, Mitch is a draft expert for this pod. He's done it for other pods as well. We're very fortunate to have appeared on other sort of Seahawks podcasts. He will handpick someone, and he knows the type of player I love. He picked Derek Hall, fell in love with him. Mitch had an absolute win with one of his pre-draft picks last season, didn't you? And who was it?
Yeah, so Mike Morris I called, and I called the pick. I think it was because we had two 5th rounds we had, and I picked the right one as well. Oluwatimi was another, and Cam Young as well. So there were three late round picks there that I knew we'd been speaking to at the combine. I think at least 2 of them were at the Senior Bowl as well that we'd spoken to there. And they were positions of need late in the draft, and they were still on the board, and I'd called it in the previous pod. So I do try and track who we are speaking to, and if there's consistencies there and a positional need, and they show out at the Senior Bowl, to me at least, they stand out as players that we're likely to take. I don't know how much it's going to be predictable this year with a new head coach and a new direction, and methods might change. But certainly, Pete and John became quite predictable with recruiting players. Where there are pipelines as well, colleges we've drafted from in the past as well. There were certain indicators, I think, but I do try and track all of it.
Sorry about the coughing, by the way, everyone. My daughter's giving me a lovely chest thing. But I think this is a perfect opportunity to sort of tell people what we're sort of planning going forward as well. Obviously, this being our first episode, you know, we're not going to drag it out. There's so much to talk about, but I don't want to dump it all on one episode. So we're going to try and do this weekly going forward. There's always content to talk about with the Seahawks. There's always guests we can have on. We're fortunate enough to have some fantastic 12s that we know that have already said they come on. Some other great podcast hosts who have happily said they come on as well and share their insight and their sort of their connections and viewpoints. Really excited for that. Pre-draft, we have got, Mitch has got a fantastic lineup of things that he's got cooking up there in his brain. So what are a couple of them, Mitch? Go on, let's dangle that carrot for people.
Yeah, so we're currently conducting. We brushed on it earlier, but we're currently conducting a consensus mock draft on our X, Twitter, and on some of the Facebook draft groups as well. So we're allowing people to vote for their franchises. So we're starting to get a real breakdown of the fan favorites at each spot for the draft. So based on that, there'll be some sort of draft projections and discussion. We're going to have a game where we all draft 22 players, 11 on offense and defense, picking from the draft board. Pre-draft this is, and then scoring correct picks based on where those players that we've chosen get drafted. So if we'll be picking a quarterback each, we'll all be picking 2 running backs. We'll go through the picking as many as possible, and whoever scores the most points for the round that those players they picked were picked in will win. We're going to get some known personalities from different podcasts that you'll no doubt know to come and take part, which is going to be really fun. And we'll also break down the positional groups pre-draft and some combine stuff and stock rising and dropping with certain players that have been linked to our franchise and things as well. So we've got loads of stuff to do, and it's going to be brilliant to bring that to you and get you interacting with it as well.
We've got our top trumps cards as well, so people need to look out for them. Where Mitch is currently compiling his draft profiles for these players. It's looking amazing at the moment. So we've got some top trumps cards that we'll be sending out into the social media landscape.
That's our big thing, and you teed me up to talk about it, and I completely riffed on it because that's the big. That's the big one. So anyone in the States may not have ever heard of Top Trumps, but it's a card game that's played in the UK and other countries, where you have a deck of cards and you have like a theme. So it could be sports cars or
Harry
NFL
Potter,
players,
The
or it could be
Simpsons,
Harry Potter.
whatever.
Yeah, and each card has attributes on it. So what we're doing is we're making a deck of cards for the draft prospects and who might be going to which team, and combine results will be on there, and where the players' strengths and weaknesses lie. They'll all be on there. So we'll be releasing those and predicting which franchises those players might go to. And it's going to be, they'll serve as a really nice fact file for each prospect, and we'll give them a write up on what kind of player they are. So it'll give you a sort of drip feed of different players you may not have looked at, to try and build everyone's knowledge of who's available in 2024 in Detroit. So that's the aim with that.
I think it's going to be amazing as well. I'm really looking forward to getting these out there and getting the feedback from people as well, because this is, even though we are hosting this, like I said, this is a community podcast. We want to hear from as many people as possible and have as many people on. We are looking to have 12s from all over the world. That's why it's the 12 Talk podcast, because it's allowing 12s to talk. Everyone gets to get in a message board, everyone gets to write a comment, but not a lot of people get to come on air and actually discuss it. So if you're interested, hit us up on our socials, by all means, like us, follow us, let us know what you think. If you want to come on board, we will sort something out. If you want to do it before the draft and you think you've got a good insight into the draft and some prospects, I'd love to hear it. I know Mitch would love to hear it. And if it's during the season, let us know. During the season, we may have we will have some new players to talk about. We may have some new uniforms to talk about. If that happens, I am going to be one of the most annoyed fans ever, because people that can't see above me is a row of Seahawks baseball caps that are all, apart from my throwback ones, in the current team colours, as well as everyone's jerseys. So it looks like I'll be investing more money.
Yeah,
so
you're going to need a bigger wall, I think.
That'll be some silent credit card purchases that my wife doesn't find out about, unless she watches or listens to this, in which case, sorry. Yeah, I mean, we wanted to jump on. We wanted to just have a quick talk about the Mike MacDonald hire. It's so exciting. I'm looking forward to hearing what the players say about him after they've had meetings with him and they've had some training sessions with him, because I think that's going to be the big indicator here. He said he's not a rah-rah guy. He didn't come across that way, although when you see him on the sidelines, when his players make a play, he gets hyped. And that's something I love to see. Yeah. I think
I was just going to say, I've got some more notes on McDaniels, and McDonald. I did that. Do you know, I did that on Twitter yesterday as well. What a derp. I had some more notes on him while we're back on the correct coach. I made a list of a few things we can expect to see this year, things that are going to stand out. And I've also got a list of things that we probably are going to see in 2 years, because I think some things are going to stand out immediately as changes. And I think there are certainly some things that are going to change over time. So I'm going to very quickly touch on those, Josh, if you don't mind. I'll get those.
If you take my one, I'm not going to be happy.
Well, do you want to do your one first? Do yours first, and I'll list mine, because maybe I put it on my X. I keep wanting to call it Twitter. Okay.
My X, which is at Josh_12 Talk, for anyone who wants to follow. I just want to see sure tackling. That's one thing that I love about the Ravens. When they hit, and people know about it. I just want to see some of our players who have been doing these horrible flailing arm tackles, or diving out of the way of someone, or just diving and clutching thin air. I want to see someone lay the wood. I want to see someone with great tackle technique, who is fearless because they know what they're doing. Just have people not want to run in their direction. I said this on other pods I've appeared on. I wanted a DB crew where wide receivers were afraid to catch the ball in their vicinity, because they'd be going, in Reek's case, is this guy about to pick it off and jump the route? Or in Spoon's case, am I going to catch this and instantly get leveled? Spoon's spent all this season melting people, and that's all I want to see. Folding like deck chairs. And I want that from our linebackers. I want that from our outside rushers, our outside linebackers, our safeties, our DBs, even the kicker. If a kicker kicks it and someone runs it back to them, I want to see Michael Dixon absolutely chop someone in half. That's all I want to see. That is my big thing, because I have ranted so much about it.
Yeah, that's an ongoing theme for you, and I agree. I'd love to see wide receivers having a harder time catching their teeth than the football. I want to see, wide receivers scared and bracing for the hit before they've received the ball, like Seahawks teams of old. So I completely agree there. But you haven't named anything on my list, so that's great. That leads me right in. So things to expect immediately. I've got ball security on offense as number one. I think our offense will start to look like it's protecting the ball a bit more, potentially more running. I think we'll shore up the offensive line with a stout, run blocking guard in the draft to enable more running between the tackles. I think that's going to be quite a big thing. Continued approach to balancing the cap between offense and defense. It's not something a lot of people look at, I guess, but the Seahawks had the closest to a 50-50 split of salary between offense and defense, whereas some franchises like the Dolphins were 70-30 in favor of offense. So I think we'll continue to see that. Offensive focusing more so on the run game. I had that as a big note. I've kind of touched on that a little bit with the ball security, but I think the two go hand in hand. And then diversification and added skill sets to existing players. So I think we'll see players being asked to do other things outside of traditional skill sets for their position, so that we can show one thing and do another. That's always been his way. So I think he'll start to add arms onto players' sort of talents and really sort of do that. That's my initial sort of things I think you'll start to see. Within 2 years, I think you'll start to see defensive line personnel looking a little different. We've tended to look at long-armed, 6'3", 310 pound defensive linemen. I think we're going to start to see a focus on versatility and three down sort of style defensive linemen that can stay out there, shift from a 3 to a 4 seamlessly. I think that's going to be something we'll notice. Coverage packages. The Ravens, they had the most versatility when it came to coverage packages in the league. They really mirrored what they were doing coverage wise to the opponent. And I think and this isn't a knock on Pete, but I do feel like we doubled down on just sticking to what we do, no matter who we were playing, and certain teams just kept dunking on us over the middle repeatedly, throwing quick balls out to the flats and letting Woolen have to tackle tight ends and running backs that are bounced outside. It just, we didn't cope, we didn't adjust, and if anything, Mike Mac is the boss when it comes to scheming up coverage for your opponent. So I think we'll notice that within 2 years with maybe some adjusted personnel. Our middle linebacker and safety usage, he's quite liberal with who has what responsibility and moving people around, showing one thing, doing another. So I think middle linebackers will become quite diverse. That one I don't think works well for Bobby Wagner as much as I love him. I think he's stayed extremely good at what he's always done well. And I think some of the other stuff has tailed off a little bit. And I think asking him at this point to suddenly start doing all those things needed in this scheme might be a problem. I think
he was very much a Pete guy. Like, we all love Bobby. Like, I don't buy player jerseys. I just refuse, because I hate, having been a soccer fan for so long, hate buying a jersey with a player's name and then they go off to a different team and you feel like you've been betrayed. Bobby Wagner is the only player jersey I own, apart from Shaquem Griffin, because, well, Shaquem Griffin is just, a bit of an icon, really. Exactly. But yeah, B-Wags, I unfortunately think, unless Mike Mac goes, I still need a leader. I still need someone that I can trust. Will you come back cheap and then you can retire as a Seahawk? Unless that happens, I think he might just go again, which is a shame.
Yeah.
But I think the last season or this season, people were starting to look at, they were using B-Wags the wrong way. I think the Rams show that you play him close to the line, have him blitz, and that's what you need. You don't have him as a coverage linebacker. And we just kept trying to put him in coverage. He got exposed, made him look older than he should do, really. Because let's face it, the guy's still a specimen. He's in better shape than you or I could ever be, and probably 80% of Seahawks fans, in fact, probably about 90. Let's face it, the dude is still jacked. But I'm with you on that one. I think there's going to be a lot of positional changes, like I said, body types, archetypes that we have for these players that we look at in the draft. Mike Mac's going to go, don't need that. He needs to be stouter. He needs to be taller. He needs to be wider. He needs to be quicker. And Pete put a real big emphasis on explosive players. He wanted them naturally gifted, quick, and that was the big thing. He was so hyped about having the quickest team he's ever had the other season, and didn't get us that far. Hopefully, McDonald's going to come in and say, look, I want people that are skilled. They've got the sound basics, and then I can work on the rest from there. So if you've got someone who is fantastic at the line of scrimmage, but coverage-wise, but they're young, they've got some of the tools, but it's not quite refined. If he goes, I can work with that. First season, they have them close to the line, and then they just work on pushing them back in coverage. Perfect. And I think based on the glowing reviews, we've got a lag on here, folks. I'm really sorry. There's a little bit of a lag. I'll carry on. Based on the glowing reviews he's had from so many of the Ravens players about his coaching style and the type of man he is and how analytical he is and how much film he watches constantly, I think we're going to get that. I think we might get a proper level of coaching. We just need to see who's going to be placed around him, and that's going to be the news that comes out in sort of the next couple of weeks, I think. And that's another pod. I think that's going to be what we need to discuss going forward. If nothing's announced by next week, we'll definitely discuss it.
Yeah, there's plenty of content, that's for sure. I was just going to say that listening to his podcast that aired just before we went live, he did say about trying to get the best out of what he has, and that he's not necessarily going to do what the Ravens did, and he's going to try to put people in positions to play the way they can. There might well be something there left for Bobby if like you say, the cap hit is agreeable. He's certainly got a lot to offer. He may not be needed. You may not need him to diversify too much. So there's hope for Bobby. I don't want to rule that out. And having listened to that press conference, I certainly had a bit more confidence that there could be a spot for him and other players that don't necessarily do exactly what Mike Mac would have had them do in a Baltimore defense.
We've had a great question come in. It's our first question on our first pod, and I'm just going to put this up here. So from Scott Anderson over on X, he said, which player do you think will benefit the most under the new regime? Now, Mitch, I'll let you go first, and then I think we've already kind of gone over it, but if you were to name one, who do you think it's going to be?
Well, thank you very much for the question, first of all. That's great that people are interacting. That's exactly what we want. If anyone else watching wants to throw a question in, absolutely do. I think Spoon probably is the player with the highest ceiling for. Sorry, can I reverse?
No, that's fine. No, go for it. There's more.
I think he's got the highest. He's got the highest ceiling. He's one of the most versatile skill sets. And when you look at Mike Mac and what he's managed to get out of certain players like Carl Hamilton and Patrick Queen, he is an absolute blank canvas for him to do whatever he wants with him throughout a really long career. They could both be here at this franchise for 10 years, and he could be an absolute kingpin in the defense that he builds. And like I say, he is so talented and has such raw physical traits as well as great instincts. He could do anything with Spoon. So that, I think, would have been your choice. So go find someone else.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Cheers. Do you know, I'm gonna. We've piped on about the defensive side because that's what we know from Mike Mac.
Mm.
I'm going to flip it onto the offense. If we go back to what you said earlier about us looking to be a really stingy defense and run the rock, I think you're going to be looking at not one but two players, possibly three, depending on who we've got. I think K9, I think Charbonnet, and I think based on these passes out to the flats and whatnot, I think you're also going to look at Kenny McIntosh really starting to benefit from this because they will become key players. McIntosh is a great pass catching back. Even Charbonnet is. K9 showed he could as well with some amazing one-handed grabs. You know, I think that core for me. Sorry, Scott, I've really sort of out on this by not giving one player, but I'm giving three. I think the running back position, I think, should hopefully come on leaps and bounds with this. But Scott, thank you so much for your question.
Yeah, superb. Thank you, Scott. Yeah, no, I think that's a really interesting look. You said there about the offense and us being stingy on defense, and I mentioned earlier about protecting the ball. I think an emphasis on yards after catch, screen passes and things that are a bit safer, that have high ceilings for how many yards you could get without having to start launching the ball, across yourself on your third or fourth read, make one read, make two, connect the pass, let them go off and make their yards. That I think also massively plays into JSN's skill set. Because he wants to get his yard on his defender early, receive the ball, and then use his field vision to see how many he can get out of it. That Gino being deterred from launching the ball on as many intermediates and deep balls to protect it means JSN's getting more looks and early and giving him the chance to carry. So defensively with the spoon and offensively JSN, I reckon.
Yeah, just a quick one. Thank you, Scott. I'm glad you'll accept the three. Cheers, mate. Hopefully you'll follow us on everything. You'll just keep listening. If you do want to appear, hit us up and slide into our DMs. We'll always chat to you, and we can hopefully get you on here, and you can say your piece as well. With that, Mitch, is there anything else you want to go over for this episode?
No, not really. I think anything else I went into now, I'd want to really sort of pick the bones out of. Cap stuff, draft stuff, cuts, players I'd like to re-sign, players we could potentially poach off the Baltimore roster who are free agents this year, because there's a lot of them that played key roles on their rosters. So there's tons to talk about. Nothing that I can squeeze in 12 minutes to keep this under an hour. So
yeah, that's one thing. Our pods will always be under an hour, folks. You will never hear any swearing. We're going to be a completely clean pod because we want you to be able to play this in the kitchen, in the car, to your friends, to your family. Don't have to worry about that. And with that, I don't want to go over either. And I know we've got plans for what we want to do. We'll talk about what's happening next week. Obviously, if anyone wants to join, hop into our DMs. We're on X at 12 Talk Pod. We're on Instagram as well at 12 Talk Pod. Just search 12 Talk Pod. I can't get my words out now. 12 Talk Podcast on Facebook. Obviously on YouTube, this video will go up as soon as I can get it up. Like, subscribe, comment, really help us out. I know it's our first pod, but any support you guys give us will be greatly appreciated because we really want to drive this community forward and get as many 12s involved as possible.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, make sure you jump into our Discord. I think that's the area we really want to grow in because it's a superb sort of notice board for people to put their thoughts out there and get like-minded people to discuss things with you. We're fast approaching the draft, and that is a perfect place to come and show us your mock drafts and spitball some ideas. And we'll probably end up watching the draft live as well. We'll probably have a watch party in our Discord, which we're more than happy to have you come and sit in and talk about the picks and things as they get called out. So definitely come and join us on Discord. We'll pop the link for that on X and on YouTube as well once this goes up.
Yep. I will also happily, during live watch parties, talk about what beer you're drinking. If you're not on beer, what are you on? We are 12s. We are a 12 Talk, but we're a Seahawks fan podcast at the end of the day. And let's have a bit of fun with this. With that, I'm going to finish with a typical Go Hawks, and a thank you very much to everyone for joining in, and we'll see you next week.
Go Hawks.